The DC real estate market is weird, and it might still be that way this fall. So if you're thinking about buying or selling this fall, you might want to watch this video. Hi, welcome back to another Coffee with Coleman, not sponsored. My name is John Coleman. I'm a real estate agent here in Washington, DC with the Jason Martin Group. So at the beginning of each year, experts are going to release what they think is going to happen in the housing market. And this year was no different. In fact, everybody was clamoring on it this year because no one knew what was going to happen. And to give you a full update of whether they were right or wrong, I need to tell you what happened in 2022. So 2022 started the year on fire. Like, houses were flying. We were seeing record number of sales, record prices. Neighborhoods were just booming. And then a little thing called inflation happened. And inflation really reared its ugly head. And the only way to combat inflation, at least in my world, was to start raising interest rates. Once we got to about June, July, August, we started seeing those tick up. And once those started to tick up, we thought it was cute. We're like, oh, okay, yeah, rates have to go up. They can't be 3% forever. But then 3 turned to 4, and then 4 turned to 5, and 5 turned to 6. And by the end of the year, we were at about 7%, which is just something we haven't seen in a long, long time. Like, once we got to August, it was almost like a high-speed locomotive was going down the tracks and then someone just kind of hit the brakes. Like, everything just skidded to a halt. And for a while there, at the end of 2022, we were wondering if the market was going to start to fall because it just didn't seem like anyone wanted to use those interest rates to buy those products. But then something funny happened. People started not wanting to sell their places either. So all of a sudden, in a market that should be falling, we had people that were no longer interested and actually selling, which didn't give people much opportunity to purchase much of anything. I have to admit though, November and December of 2022 is probably when I saw people get the best deals when they're looking to buy a home. And it makes sense. It's usually the time frame when someone in the world is afraid to do something that you're able to make the decisions that kind of benefit you the most, because not everyone's doing the exact same thing. What were the predictions for 2023? Well, everybody thought that it was either going to stay the same, could go down 4%, and I'm here to tell you, they weren't far off. And it's not as simple as inventory came out and went poof and went away. Or inventory came out and it just kind of sat there and nobody really wanted to do anything with it, so the prices started to drop. Really, it's an aggregate of all of that depending on where you're looking. So my first advice is, if you're looking this fall, go ahead and drop me a note and I can tell you about the specific neighborhood and area that you're looking at, because they're all different. There's a lot of different factors going into it, but some neighborhoods, they're set, and some neighborhoods are flourishing more than ever. All right, so here's the interesting thing. We got to a point earlier this year where rates actually dipped down to the low 6s and in some cases high 5s. And in that moment, in that fleeting moment, we actually saw the market start to pick up, like, pretty quickly. Now, then we had to deal with the debt ceiling, and that kind of caused chaos, and everything kind of bumped back up to the high 6s and low 7s. But for that moment, we saw a glimpse of what's going to happen when the rates eventually come down. So I have a lot of people talking to me about waiting for the interest rates to come down so they can afford more, and then therefore they'll enter the market. Problem is, you're not the only one with that plan. And if you're not the only one with that plan, chances are you're gonna hit more of a situation where it's gonna be even more competitive. And even though you might have a better interest rate, you might end up paying more for that property. It's interesting. We're gonna hit a spot where last year in November, we had 7% interest rates and things weren't moving. This year in November, we're probably gonna hit a spot with 7% interest rates where things are moving just fine. And why is that? Well, it's kind of like the boiled frog effect. Like, if you have a boiling pot of hot water and you throw a frog into it, it's gonna hop right out. It doesn't like it, doesn't feel good. However, if you put a frog in a pot of water and you start to boil it slowly and bring it up to temperature, it eventually just sits in there and gets cooked, and it doesn't know any better because it happened so slowly. That's what we're seeing with interest rates now. People are used to them. This is life. This is what people are gonna be seeing for a while. Some people think that the interest rates are gonna drop off soon. I don't know if that's true. I don't think anybody knows that that's true. So I think we're just facing what this is, which is a new reality of what it costs to borrow money for the time being. What's going to happen the rest of this year? That's what we all want to know, right? I think it's going to be much of the same. I think we're going to see continuing low inventory, just not much to pick and choose from. And then I don't think the interest rates are going to change that much. And if those two things are the recipe, whatever happens so far this year, which is a pretty stable in some markets and some markets still, we're going to see things just kind of act as they've been doing. Now, all bets are off if interest rates go one way or the other. If they go super up, then it's probably going to get a little desperate for a hot second. If they go down, well, it's going to get desperate for people in a lot different a way, because it's going to start getting competitive, because that money that people want to borrow is all of a sudden affordable. So here's some interesting data points that you need to know about. First is new active listings are down 15 to 25%. That means new things hitting the market. And that's down from last year, which was already a tight year in general. However, new pending sales are down 10 to 15%. So that means new things going under contract is down less than what's coming on the market. That's only showing that the market's going to get tighter and tighter as we're dealing with all of this. Price drops was a huge conversation to start the year. Now we're right in line where we were last year when the market was doing just fine. We started the year down on median sales price in comparison to last year. Not shocking, because last year, again, was bonkers. Record prices, nothing we've ever seen before. However, at this point of the year, we are 3% above where we were last year. And that line is only going to keep trending higher and higher, because remember what happened last year. The market started to take a little bit of a dip. As you watch this year versus next year, the narrative is prices are going to be up year over year in spite of the interest rates. And then in the news, we'll put some of these articles in the comment section below so you can see them. There's two interesting facts. Of all the major metropolitan cities, the outflow of people looking for houses outside of DC is actually higher than most other places, meaning a lot of people are looking for houses online outside of the city that they currently live in. And we don't want to see you go, but that's the reality of what's happening. DC is also usually used to that. Like, we have a pretty transient area of people coming in and out. Gen Z, they like DC. They are coming to DC at higher numbers than any other city. While some of you old fogies are leaving, I guess the new bucks are coming to town and to have some fun. So if you guys want to reach out and ask some questions about the city, go ahead and let me know. I'd love to share what we know about it. Like this beautiful area. We're about to get kicked out, but I just want to let you know, thanks for stopping by another Coffee with Coleman. Peace. Ooh, that was the wrong finger.